Welcome, everybody. This is the Highlight Podcast. Today, we're in a different setting, but happy to bring you some good quality content. My name is Ron Carson. I'm your host. And today I have with me Mr. Danny Bryant. He's the arena general manager here at the Akins Ford Arena, newly built here in Athens. So just wanted to have him on the show today, really to kind of give you all some insight into what the entertainment market in Athens and tourism, is kind of looking like. And I feel like Danny, most of you might know Mr. Kramer or some of the other people that have, Mr. Maddox that have been involved with the Classic Center. But I just want to show more of the team and kind of have them kind of speak for some of the work that they're doing. So, Danny, thank you for joining me today on the show. Thank you for letting us come in here and film in the arena. It's really nice, man. Tell me, how did you get into, entertainment and managing? How did you get into managing an arena?
Sure.
Where'd you start and kind of how'd you get here?
Yeah, no, thanks so much for having me, and thanks for joining us here in our home. And as you can see, we're always working. So thanks for coming in while we've got some of that going on too. Yeah, my journey in Athens started about 15 years ago, right here at the front desk of the Classic Center. And so I moved down here right after school, grew up in Michigan, went to Central Michigan University for sports management. And so when I moved down to Athens, I was looking for a job that had something to do with recreation, hospitality, sports, and the Classic Center offered a lot of that at the time. My role was basically a support role for the entire operations department of the convention center as it existed at the time, and very quickly got to meet some of what would become my mentors and Mr. Kramer and Shannon McCullough, who hired me, and got to learn. Yeah, he's had a huge role in workforce development in the community for a long time, and eventually moved into an event planner role, and did that for 2 to 3 years. And it was during that time that we went through our last expansion, our most recent one back in 2013. Where we added on the atrium and doubled the size of the exhibit hall, of the Grand Hall. And it was at that time when we were looking for, how can we fill, this new programming and this new space, that we got connected with this concept of bringing in an ice rink, and bringing in seating, telescopic seating that could build out and allow us to do arena events, or to do holiday ice skating.
Right.
And being a kid from Michigan who knew what snow and ice and hockey was. Right. And, it was like, this is finally an opportunity to get involved in the sports world here in Athens, Georgia.
Right.
And so I took that opportunity and was fortunate to be given the chances to kind of oversee some of those programs and work with the University of Georgia hockey team, to work with our Athens on Ice skating program, and work on starting to try to bring some different sports events into our facility. As that kind of set everything in motion, as Mr. Kramer and the board were looking at what are the next steps, right? How are we going to continue to grow as a destination and draw people in here to Athens, and looking at the master plan. And that was when the concept for an arena really, really became a reality. Right.
I want to start before we get there.
Yeah.
Because when you first got to Athens, I want you to give some detail into what was it like here, doing shows or getting conventions to come out? What was the landscape like then?
Yeah. No, great question.
What were some of the challenges for the Classic Center?
Yeah, and I was a 22-year-old kid who had no idea what a splost was, or that Clark County was a unified government. I didn't know what any of that meant. But as I got to learn, and right after I got here in July of 2010, I remember that fall is when they passed the SPLOST for the expansion. Again, no idea what it is. I'm not even sure if I voted in it, to be honest.
Right.
But I remember the excitement from, the leadership of our facility when that passed, because it meant that the exhibit hall and the atrium were going to be added. At the time at our facility, our max capacity was probably 2,500 people. Okay. Maybe. And then
in Athens, that's still the biggest.
It was still a lot, right? Other than the university, was obviously the big meeting place. And then we had our performing arts theater that had been here since our opening as well.
Right.
So they were, they were in the middle of, their Broadway seasons and the concerts and shows that they would bring in, which they've done a great job with since opening in 1995. But, in terms of kind of the sports landscape, unless it was at the University of Georgia at one of the community fields, we didn't really have, a central gathering place for that. It certainly wasn't something we were doing here at the Classic Center on any kind of major level.
Yeah, I was about to say most of that was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And it kind of kept Athens out of that market. So it's like now you guys get the opportunity to kind of step into that space.
Yeah.
What is it? What does that mean, for Athens now that you guys are there?
Yeah, I think also, from a music standpoint, obviously Athens has always had a great club scene,
Right.
with Georgia Theater, 40 Watt, Flicker, all the different, downtown established places, but nothing that has really, nothing that's over 1,000 people on any given night.
Right.
And they've allowed, the creatives in Athens to build international brands, but we've never really had a place for them to come back and celebrate here in town, unless it was at the very tail end of their career or a special one-off. Hey, don't tell anybody.
Yeah,
it's going to be packed in 10 seconds.
Right.
Kind of thing. And so that was something as we look to grow too, is how can we make this a music venue that highlights those features? And so by being able to go into a bigger space, that drives what one of our main, missions is economic impact, right? And that's dollars being spent in our community, coming down, having dinner, going to the shops, coming to a show, maybe grabbing a drink after the show,
Right.
and supporting not just our downtown, but our entire city, staying here overnight,
Mm-hmm.
Creating jobs for the people who are working in the hotels or working in the service industry, whatever that may look like. The more people you get in here, the more frequently it's a numbers game, right? The more
Right.
people we can bring into town and into our community, the more money they're going to spend, and the more that benefits, the folks who live and work here.
Right. So you guys started getting into bigger concerts now, and I think you guys started out the Live Nation event. It was B-52s.
That's right.
Right. So tell me what kind of artists can sell out the arena, and what do you think will be the frequency of that moving forward?
Yeah. So, when we went into this concept, I won't get into all the minutia of the steps it took to get the arena, but
Right.
one of the first steps we did do was go and get a study. We didn't just say, oh, we want an arena, let's do it. Right.
Right.
We went and got 2 studies done by national firms that basically study the viability of these in different communities. And what they said was, with an arena, you should drive about 125 events. An arena of our size, this capacity that we could put on this site, that the budget could support, would probably bring about 20 to 25 concerts a year. And at our size, for a concert, we're between 5,500 and 7,000. That's about 80% of all national touring acts.
Oh, wow.
So a great way to think about that is, are we going to get the Taylor Swifts of the world who are playing Mercedes-Benz Stadium and 80,000 people night in and out?
Right.
Probably not.
Yeah,
but there's not that many people. That's right.
Yeah.
But there's not that many people in the world who can do that, right? That is a very special
Yeah.
skill set. And I think Beyonce's playing tonight at
Yeah,
Mercedes-Benz.
yep.
Sorry, I don't know when this will air, but
it's okay.
but relevant to when,
Right.
and that's obviously incredible. But there's only a handful of buildings, in the world that can do that,
Right.
and that's why there's 30 NFL stadiums.
Right. Well, listen, I mean, with you guys, because I think you guys had somebody else come by, but I want you to tell them,
Yeah.
who are some of the artists that you feel or have already, tried to use this space and made
For
a
sure.
moment out of it.
Yeah, so like you mentioned, it was a really cool full circle moment for the B-52s to open the arena. Obviously being, a world famous band right here out of Athens. Our hockey team, the Rock Lobsters, are named after, their
Right.
iconic song. Was really awesome to have them open the doors for this place. And they'd played our theater before.
Right.
And so to come back and people be able to celebrate that, who had seen them, probably playing, at a frat party when they were in college, and then at the clubs and they were getting going, and then to be able to come back now, they've lived a life and come back and see them. We've had some success with country shows coming through here. Another local flavor, Megan Maroney, who went to UGA, she came in, was our fastest selling sellout.
Oh, wow.
So she sold out 2 shows in about 30 minutes.
Okay.
So that was our first taste of like the big life of like, whoa, we have 20,000 people in the queue to buy 5,500 tickets.
Right.
That was pretty wild. And then, as we get ready, having Disney on Ice come in here, having Monster Jam, the Harlem Globetrotters, having those family shows that you get to see. I mean, the Globetrotters, it was so fun. I mean, they do a little intermission, and I think at that time, every kid that was here went and bought a basketball, and there might have been 1,000 people dribbling a basketball around the building. It was just like the coolest thing, right? Like, and I don't know how many. Like, I remember going and seeing the Globetrotters when I was a kid. Yeah. I probably hadn't seen them for 25 years, and like to see that same excitement being built as like the new generation of people who have never been able to experience that, or they've had to go to Atlanta to do it before. Now they can do it in their backyard, right? Like it's 5-minute. Drive in or whatever it may be, is really, really cool. And we see that with the hockey as well, is like, not everybody in Athens, Georgia has been to a hockey game, knows even what hockey is, but they come in and you just see them like light up, and like they see their friends, they get to hang out with them and like enjoy the atmosphere that it is. And usually they get hooked and come back for another one.
Right. And I think you guys, because you've been doing it so long, like, you guys are really good at what you do. I want to ask, because putting on concerts is not easy, and there's a lot of risk involved.
Sure.
Even conventions, Monster Jam, it's a lot of risk, and you guys are booking the shows and bringing them to town. It's like, so what, I guess, in the sense of how risky is it, just kind of give me, how do you guys, go about making these things, happen, bringing them to life? Yeah.
I mean, everybody thinks they're going to get rich off concerts because they see the, Beyonce play Mercedes-Benz. Like, well, how do you not make money?
Right.
But, I think the real, music business world is the club scene and growing from there are those, those shows that every ticket that they sell counts to, if they're taking anything home that night. And that translates down, to everybody involved in that process. Not just the person standing up on stage, right? It's the person plugging in the amp. It's the person who's, tuning the guitar off stage, person selling merch in the back of the room. And so for us to have success, with shows here, is we rely on our relationship with promoters. So that's kind of how our building operates, is that we partner with promoters. We rent the facility to them. And then they'll negotiate and bring in the acts that, they have a relationship with or that they feel will be successful in Athens. So, our job is to, one, sell the city of Athens. Why is this different than Atlanta? Why is it different than Macon or Augusta or Savannah?
Give them some of those reasons, man.
I think anybody who spends a little bit of time here realizes the passion that we have, not just for music, but I think for our community. I think there's a real pride in Athens. And, obviously the university is a big piece of that, but I think there's a great local culture as well, that in the very best way, is a little weird, is a little, has a little bit of a chip on their shoulder.
Yeah, right.
And also is a little protective of like, this is my spot. I don't know if I want everybody to find out how great it is and how quiet the traffic is.
Yeah. 15 minutes. You're anywhere on any side of Athens you want to be.
That's right. And so I think being able to share all those perks with with a promoter who maybe doesn't spend, a ton of time in Athens, certainly being connected to our downtown and what that offers, and being able to say, hey, you can park your car, walk and grab dinner, come to the show, go have a drink afterwards, stay in a hotel or Uber back home.
Right.
That footprint, that says also that people are hungry, that they want to experience this type of thing.
Right.
And so, when we get that positive response of, hey, people are coming out and buying tickets and, they're buying drinks and food while they're here, that all makes money for these promoters, and that allows them to come back time and time again so that we get those 20, 25 shows.
Right.
I think, we've been open 6 months, and I think one of the biggest things that we want to make sure that we're doing is expanding those horizons, right? We've had, a handful of country concerts, and we've got, a great comedy show with Leanne Morgan coming up. But how do we bring in shows that speak to every part of our community?
Right.
And so that is where those promoter relationships of, okay, who's having success in different markets, right? Whether it's hip hop, R&B, gospel,
Right.
where are we? Who are those relationships that are going to come in here and have success?
Right. Okay.
And so that is really, we're working on that every day.
Right.
And, that translates across, how do we bring in more rock and roll shows? How do we bring in more of the family shows?
Right.
And so having this kind of early template of, hey, this is successful. We can fit this many people in here. They can move throughout the
Right.
building well. They can park. They can get into the building. Those are all things that we can take back to these promoters and say, hey, look how well we did here. Because they're the ones taking, the biggest chance. Take a chance on us. Let us be successful for you once, and then this will be a successful partnership moving forward.
Right. So I want to ask more, like, what role does the Classic Center play in, nurturing the local side that's trying to break into this space?
Yeah.
Because, some people, they can only go so far in the sense of,
Sure.
renting a whole arena.
Sure.
So it's like, how do you guys maybe, work with some of the local entertainment, and even if it's like, hey, you might not can use this whole facility, but we can maybe work something over here, because you guys do have other facilities. How does that work just with the Classic Center?
Yeah. So, I think our theater is a great example of, some of the community events that they've been able to build and put on. Since our opening, they've hosted the Athens Symphony that, is able to provide, I think it's up to 6 free concerts a year now. It costs nothing for people to attend, right? And
Mr. Hudson.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
Yep.
That they, have had the opportunity to do, some of the community theater stuff they've done. Obviously working with Miss Hattie and putting on Linen Town, last year, and it's coming back up again this year.
Right.
And whether it's on the fundraising side, so like ESP for years has hosted their Big Hearts banquet here, and I think they raised, it started, with modest beginnings, and I think they raise over $1 million now every year at their banquet, or at the Boy Scouts dinner that is doing the same in the Athena ballrooms. So we've had a lot of experience on the community side of being able to grow. And I think on the artist front, we are fortunate that Athens kind of has that nurturing spirit, and again has that club scene that's been able to grow it. And now our job is to connect with that and say, okay, hey, go play Flickr, go play the 40 Watt. Hey, you just sold out the Georgia Theater. Do you want to come do a night at our theater? Or,
right.
Hey, you're ready to explode now. Come play the arena. But within the arena itself, we really want to help incubate that as well. And we've got some really neat spaces that I think we've got a new club space that's opening that could be a really cool 50 to 100 person, open mic, or, just a small performance just to get people in and experience the space.
Right.
And, it might not be a headline and Saturday night, 6,000 person show, but could be a really cool way to get people into the building, get into the experience and learn. And that would feed into our learning lab as well, which is a big piece of workforce development here, if you don't mind me going down that path a little bit.
Go ahead.
But I think that tells a lot of our story too, is, we have always been committed to it. And in the last 5 years, it feels like it's just snowballed into great effect. So every year we do a Hospitality Careers Academy, which is a summer program for hospitality students throughout the state.
Oh, wow.
And so they apply for it, they interview, they come in, and it's basically hospitality summer camp. We get them up at 7 a.m. and, they have the roles of event planner, pastry chef, sous chef, marketing, technical, whatever
Stage
it is.
management.
That's right.
Yeah.
And by the end of the week, they put on the banquet for our cultural foundation.
Okay.
So they're the leads for all of these roles. They're cooking all the food. They're helping set the room. They're folding the napkins. And they have leaders and mentors from our company as a part of that. Well, what's really cool is that, some of them are like, I don't want to do this at all, right, for the future. But some of them come back and say, well, how can I get a job here? And these are high school students, which is wild. Like, I didn't know in high school. Like,
that you can come and start getting involved in putting shows together. Yeah.
And, we have a couple who are employed now here full time who went, off to school, stayed in touch, worked in the summers, came back. A couple of them interned with that program, as mentors. And now one of our event planners, he just, he was in the program maybe 6 years ago, and now is working here full time.
Oh, that's awesome.
Another program called Bread for Life, which really focuses again on the high school level, and ties in with the Career Academy, the Athens County Career Academy, where students can actually come over here and get college credit, get high school credit, get paid, and get educated in what it is that we do here.
Right.
Because I think the beauty of hospitality, because I will be the first to admit, is like, it's not rocket science. What we do is taking care of people, making a plan, figuring out puzzles. But really it's making sure that when people come in, that they have a great time and that they want to come back again and again. And I think we feel very confident that we can teach people the skills to help execute that.
Right.
And so then that allows them, again, to in high school to start getting that experience, work here part-time. And one of the things that I think we're, most proud of is with the opening of the arena, our starting hourly wage is $15.85.
Okay.
And so,
for a young person, I mean, that's going to carry them over.
And just to, be able to, commit to, we know, everybody knows that the world's getting more expensive.
Right.
But to be able to start there and come in with, potentially limited, career skills and say, this is going to be your first job, but we want to help turn into career.
Right.
And give you a pathway to move up and support that development. We have multiple scholarships within our organization that are funded, that allow you to continue development, right? If you want to go get your certification, if you want to, learn a new skill or go to, a conference, we have those abilities that it doesn't have to come out of pocket.
Right. Right.
And
so somebody can really go from zero to hero.
That's right. And that story repeats itself over and over again. So many people in our company, started here at, like myself, at an entry-level position. And
15 years later.
Yeah. I mean,
the general manager.
There's a commitment. You got to put in some time. But I think for people who fall in love with Athens or this is their home, to be able to have that outlet, as a true career path, is something we're really, really proud of, and is an exciting piece of adding the arena, as it just opens up that many more doors.
Like Athens, to me, has a market that you can come in, as you say, go perform at a Flickr, go perform at a Georgia Theater, and build up that audience, and to where you can end up somewhere in here.
Yeah.
And so it's what I'm curious how do you see local entrepreneurs? Has a local agency came in here yet and done anything, or?
So I would say the closest we've gotten is some regional promoters. And I think, again, when you talk about 5,000 to 6,000 and the level of artists that you're working with, that feels around right. I think from, the local promoter, where those opportunities come in are, for every one of our Rock Lobsters games, they do a battle of the bands. And so they have a band, that plays out front.
Oh, wow.
Or, if we do some of our community events, being able to pull in some of that, again, pull back to the hockey, but that's our tenant that is here for the most games.
Right.
Doing the national anthem. I know all those things don't sound like major things, but for somebody that could be their break, right?
Right.
Or the right person sees them. And like I mentioned with this, this club concept, I think that's a really great opportunity to bring in, that's the local comedy scene, whether it's the local music scene, and do some stuff of like, hey, let's be in a low risk scenario where we can have people come out and experience a pretty unique setting for it, but also maybe something that they haven't heard before.
Right.
Or, then you can say, hey, remember when I saw them with 50 people, right? Everybody, that's where everybody started. Everybody had that story.
Yeah. And tell you, like, there are people that have tried to do this at a bigger space, and, it's hard. And so like I want to bring attention to that, because I think it was the Athena Studios, they were trying to do something there. And I'm just curious because I'm pretty sure you have to think about this a lot when you're planning. They tried to do an event, y'all. It was when Texas, I think it was when UGA was either playing Texas or it was when they were playing Tennessee, because I had to shoot that game. And they, or photograph it. They had a Waka Flocka and this other guy named Young Gravy. And, you know, it was a festival day kind of show. And, you know, they did it on a game day. It was maybe a couple of hours before the game. So it's just like, from your mindset, from a planner's perspective, POV, how do you go about, like, you want to make a successful show.
Yeah.
You want to make a show that people are going to go to.
Yeah.
You know, how do you kind of frame that to where you have the best bet to make your money?
It's hard, right? Like, especially when you look at the game. We've played that game. I remember we were like, we're gonna host an event on a UGA game day. We're like, there's 300,000 people in town. We need 1,500 of them to show up to be successful. They had one priority on their mind, right? And that was the dogs. Like, that was what they were going to do. And that, you know, they were going to be somewhere with their friends watching it and getting ready, whatever it may have been. And if they weren't interested, like, they weren't coming anywhere near downtown, right?
Right.
Which, you know, it seems like a slam dunk. So that is the danger of the live events world in general, right? Is you can put all the work in and nobody, you know, nobody may show up. Now, you know, I think what we've built here, you know, we have a great marketing department that knows, okay, here's the outlets to reach out to. Here's the relationships we have. I think we have the reputation, you know, of, hey, if you come here, you're going to be taken care of. It's going to be safe. You know, it's going to be something that you can come in and get in and out of. It's right downtown. I know the quality is going to be good.
Right.
Those are all things that I think we've built that reputation. And one of the challenges, you know, that we issue to our team here at the arena is, hey, it's a brand new facility, but how do you continue that reputation and the feelings, you know, and that be impressed culture of the Classic Center, that when you have people come in that they want to leave and go tell 28 other people, hey, you got to go see something over there at the new Akins Ford Arena.
Right. Well, you know, that's really what I was trying to get to, is like, you know, Athens is kind of now in this new space. It's going to change how the city, you know, operates. It's going to change how much money we make here. You know, it's just how does it help the culture? You know, because, like, for example, we talk about Athens music culture, you know, REM, B-52s. Not a lot of people know Quavo is from here. There's another artist, Fujiano. He's a big time artist signed to Gucci Mane, but also from here.
Yeah.
It's like, how do we keep making cultural moments? How can we use this space to make cultural moments and it actually be something that's, you know, yeah, a national promoter can come in and do a show, but how does this become part of, like, somebody's story when they're coming? Oh, wait, I went here and I saw this big concert. It's just like, you know, how do we make this a cultural thing, not just a business where, you know, hey, we're coming turnkey, operations good to go, you know? How does this actually become a place where the moments feel, you know, special, memorable?
Yeah, I think, you know, that's something I will say since we began, but I mean, being here for 15 years that I've seen time and time again is there's rarely a challenge or an opportunity that we say no to, right? We might ask questions. We might, you know, say, well, tell me a little bit more about this. But we're usually going to try everything at least once. Okay. I mean, you know, I have to, you know, we just did Monster Jam for the first time in our beautiful brand new arena, and we just poured dirt into it, you know, and it's just like, it like hurt my soul to like look around here and be like, oh no, what did we do? You know,
but I heard a lot of great stuff about Monster Jam.
It was great. It was great. And so I think in terms of, you know, creating unique moments in here and cultural moments in here is, you know, one, finding the right people, right? Sitting down, meeting, talking with you about, you know, your aspirations and goals. And I think finding like-minded people who want to do that, the door is always wide open. And, you know, and being able to have those conversations about, okay, what are the goals? What do you want to do here? Here's how it's going to make sense on our side and for you. And let's go chase that down together, right? And what are the obstacles that are standing in the way of that? our job, again, I said it's not rocket science, like our job is to remove those obstacles so that people can be successful with their events.
Okay.
Right? Because I think if, at the end of the day, if the person who's, I'll use the term promoter, that could be a one person, that could be a national company, whatever it is, but they're risking their capital, financial, emotional, personal,
Right.
whatever it may be. Whether it's a wedding or it's a concert, like that needs to be the most important day in their lives.
Right.
And it's our job to make sure that it is. And so if, Aunt Susie is being crazy, like it's our job to take Aunt Susie over to the side, maybe get her a glass of water or a cocktail so that the bride can have their day, right?
Right.
Same thing that, hey, if this is the barrier to come in for a concert, hey, we don't know how to market, in Athens. Great. We've got our marketing team that can do that. Okay. Well, how are we going to sell 5,000 tickets? Well, we've got a great ticketing team that's going to help you do that.
Okay.
Maybe we need a little extra sponsorship to make this happen. You know what? We've got a great partner in the Oakview group that will help you sell sponsorship for this event. It's putting that puzzle together and not just saying, hey, here's the bill. Where's the money? Right. It's working together and building those relationships and finding a way that, all right, let's figure out how to do this. And if 6,000 seats isn't the first thing that you can sell, okay, well, we have a theater that feels great at 1,500.
Right.
Can we do that? Maybe you can't do that yet. Okay, let's talk about doing it in one of our smaller spaces. Maybe it's a more intimate show that we do. Or, hey, let's work with our partners down at the Morton Theater or talk to, our friends over at the 40 Watt.
Right.
But let's work on this together. And then that way, when you grow, we want to be here. We want to keep you home.
Right. Exactly. I think that's the one thing. And I'm glad you said that because I see it with Quavo and the Migos story. They're from here, and not to say that they tried to pursue a music career here, but Athens doesn't really give too much of those vibes, especially back in 2008, 2011, that time. You might have wanted to go to Gwinnett or Atlanta to try to get in that. And I think that, I think now Athens is really in a sense of like, if we're giving this talent away, we're doing ourselves a disservice.
That's right.
So it's like, how can we make something for us to have our own home?
Yeah.
And build from there. So we just had the 706 Day Festival. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean we, but there was another organization that they did it. And I felt like, we're starting to see that appreciation. People that are from Athens that left Athens because they felt there wasn't much opportunity, they're coming back and organizing to do things. So I think that, this is just a space where I feel like, we can have more things like that and have those connections. I had a question because, we have like AthFest and like the Juneteenth Festival.
Yeah.
What does it look like for any of those events to come a festival to be like here, something that let's say is like more than one day? Like, what does that look like?
Absolutely. I mean, we would love to figure out the right equation for a festival to work. We've long talked about, we have an annual retreat every year, and it's probably every other year, a department comes up with and says, we're gonna put a music festival on here. We've got the theater, we've got the Grand Hall, we've got the outdoor pavilion.
Right.
Now we've got the arena. And yeah, whether that is combining with the ones that exist already, or working with a local promoter or local promoters, and putting something on, I mean, we would love it. I mean,
right.
I think that would be such a fun highlight of sorry for the pun there.
Yeah, right.
But a highlight for Athens to be proud of. And obviously those festivals that exist, I think have become one of the signature pieces of why people want to be here. I'd call Twilight my favorite Athens holiday. People feel the same way, right, about the Pride Festival. They feel the same way about Wild Rumpus. Like, they're these like signature Athens events that I don't know that other communities can do like us. Right. And so, yeah, I mean, we would love for this to be a part of that. And, going back to your earlier point of, talent having a home here, at the end of the day for those artists, it is, hey, can they elevate their career? Can they make money?
Yeah.
And I think if you can see that you can do it here in your hometown, like, isn't that every artist's dream? Right. And, I think this is going to open up a lot more of those pathways for those dreams, is to say, hey, before you hit the road, stick around here, have one more big show, or make it a part of your annual, your turn, come home, get some home cooking and enjoy it. So.
Right. Well, Danny, I appreciate you so much, man, for coming on and talking.
Appreciate you.
I feel like this won't be the last episode we do here. And, you know, he spoke about the small club scene that they're opening up here. We're going to try to do some live events where we can actually show you guys some of live what we're doing here. He's a comedy, music, poetry, a lot of different things. So I definitely hope that you guys will tune back in. We'll probably do more episodes here as things develop, but thank you so much for coming by, and thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and tune in later. We'll check you out.
Thanks so much for having me, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Danny.
it.
Take care.